Hey guys, welcome back to another video. This video is going to be a continuation of my zero waste series. If you've missed the previous videos, they will all be linked below and in the playlist, so check them out. I am back from yoga and I want to use up some of my tofu, so I'm gonna try to make some chipotle sofritas. I found a recipe online and I have most of the ingredients, so that's what's going on in here. I'm just gonna do it in batches because it's a little small. And then these are all the spices that I'm adding to it. I'll link the recipe in the video description. And it uses some chipotle peppers in adobo, and I've had this in my fridge for forever, so I thought it was a good way to use it up. So I just crumbled the tofu. You're supposed to fry it, but I'm skipping that step. And then I made the marinade in my food processor, and I'm just gonna mix it in. It says let it sit for like 30 minutes or overnight. So I think I'm just gonna do 30 minutes. Because I want to eat it. I also used a red onion instead of a yellow onion because I already had half of a red onion in the fridge. Finished cooking the sofritas. They taste good. I put some in a burrito bowl using the leftover quinoa and corn, plus a tomato, steamed kale, cilantro, a chopped up pepper, and some of that pumpkin seed sauce that I made earlier this week. I'm also going to top it with some nutritional yeast. Now I am eating some of the brownies that I made earlier for dessert. And I gotta say, guys, cooking zero waste really isn't that hard, especially if you're making your own home cooking, and it tastes really good too. First of all, I know I need to wash my hair, but I'm conserving my water waste. And second of all, I made myself some lunch. Random things in the fridge: chickpea, tomato, cucumber, dill, parsley, and sauteed the beet greens with some like balsamic vinegar and tahini. I think that's it. I haven't even been showing you guys everything that I've been eating on this challenge, just because I've already feel like I have proved my point that even if you are zero waste, you can still eat a wide variety of foods and it doesn't have to be boring. And especially if you're a foodie and you like to do your own things, it's very easy to eat fancy stuff. Like obviously this isn't fancy, but I mean, I made brownies. I ate my lunch. But, you know, if you want to just watch what I eat in a day, you can watch my whole playlist of what I eat in a day videos. I feel like this should be about zero waste. And I realized that I haven't really talked about in a lot of detail the things that I don't like about the zero waste movement. So as I said, as long as you have access to bulk bins and a variety of things, you could totally live a zero waste lifestyle. But obviously, what if you don't have access? Another thing is, I see a lot of zero wasters say, oh, zero waste is so easy. Just do this to eliminate this, and then do this to eliminate this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and this, and then it's like so many little tips and tricks that are easy. But when you think about all of them, they just slowly pile up and up and up, and then it's like, do you have any free time? On that note, I did want to mention Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is a principle in psychology. Basically, you have to have your basic needs met before you can think about other higher needs. And your basic needs are like food, water, security, stuff like that. And your higher needs are like intellectual enlightenment. If you're on food stamps, or if you're struggling with something else, or you have a family member who's sick, or just any stresses in your life, you're not going to stop and think about every single piece of plastic that you consume and whether or not you should throw it away. So I think that's always important to keep in mind. I think zero waste is awesome, and I think if you do have the privilege and opportunity to do it, I think it is fantastic if you incorporate those principles in your life. But I also think that if you truly do not have the means to do it, you don't need to beat yourself up about it. Kind of like veganism, it's about doing the best that you can based on your circumstances. I do like to experiment and make things from scratch in my own kitchen. I know some people aren't like that, so that would probably be a lot less appealing to you if you were thinking about reducing your waste. But I have already shown you guys how to make your nut milk in a previous video. And I've also made a few things on my own. I made some pickles and they are really freaking good. And I also regularly make my own sauerkraut. This is some cabbage and some of the beets that I got in the farmer's market. I actually have a whole YouTube video on how to make your own sauerkraut if you've never made it before. It's really easy and super cheap. So I would totally recommend making these things. But then there are things that are more complicated. I wanted to try to experiment and make some things to see if it would theoretically be worth it. So if you remember, I got some soybeans in the bulk bins, and I magically found these in my pantry. I got them on Thrive Market forever ago, but basically it's a yogurt starter and a tempeh starter. So I want to try to make my own soy yogurt and soy tempeh. Also, side note, if you have a problem with soy, you shouldn't have a problem with soy. I'll link a video below, but that's not the point of this discussion. I'm just using soybeans, okay? The fermentation stuff for this is really complicated. I don't know. So I'm gonna attempt this. And I also wanna try to make my own toothpaste and cotton rounds instead of using cotton balls, because apparently that's really easy to do. The only other issue is that my roommates need a kitchen downstairs for their work today, but I am a food blogger, so I have my own induction burner, so I'm just gonna do my experimentations up here in our office. Cue the montage. This shit is disgusting. First of all, if you do attempt to make your own yogurt, don't screw up like me and start at like 2 in the afternoon, because it takes 8 to 10 hours, and I had to set an alarm to wake up at 2:30 a.m. to take this out of the Instant Pot and put it in the fridge. As soon as I opened my Instant Pot, I knew I messed up somehow because it smelled really, really weird. There was a lot of extra liquid and it was really chunky, so I decided to strain it through a nut milk bag. Look at the texture. It's like cottage cheese meets yogurt, and honestly it smells vile. When I smell it, I never want to eat food again. I don't no, hard no. Oh my god, that's freaky. Okay, I will admit that I did pick this so it looks a lot weirder. It used to just be like nice and fluffy, but I don't know if I let it sit out too long because it's turning kind of black, but I did put it in the fridge and it continued to turn black, so I think it's okay. If you flip it over, it looks more like traditional tempeh. I was actually supposed to wrap it in a plastic bag, but I didn't want to because that is waste. Hopefully I don't die. I'm gonna try to cook a piece of this up and taste it now. This took like 3 days though. It's a lot of freaking effort. Okay, I cut the tempeh up into what kind of would be like tempeh blocks. I seared it in a cast iron pan with just a little bit of olive oil and salt. Wanted to keep things pretty simple. I mean, it looks like tempeh. It smells like tempeh. It tastes like tempeh. It tastes fine. So in total, I made about 3 blocks worth of tempeh, which I can get in the grocery store for about $6. This also took 3 freaking days. If you were busy, I don't think I would recommend this. Also, you need a dehydrator. Luckily, my roommates had one. Personally, I don't know if it's really worth it. It would definitely be more of a special occasion thing. But it tasted good. I'm actually really surprised at how well this worked out, to be honest. It still tastes like baking soda, but I mean, I guess I could get used to this. It doesn't taste like good toothpaste though. honestly, when I wash my face, I usually just rub this cleansing serum on it and then just wash my face afterwards, so most of the makeup gets off anyways. It feels fine. I'm definitely getting some makeup. I don't wear a lot of makeup. I would definitely recommend using black fabric though, because the white fabric will definitely get stained over time. The second problem that I have with the zero waste movement is that it can get so expensive. I mean, let's face it, plastic is so cheap to make. It is a byproduct of the oil industry, so they are invested in it. And there's just plastic all around us. Like, even going to a natural food store that has bulk bin items is going to be more expensive. And for some reason, especially in America, all of the cheap grocery stores like Aldi and Trader Joe's and even Costco, where you can buy things in bulk, everything, I mean everything, is wrapped in plastic. So when you're zero waste, not only do you have to find these ingredients, travel to these ingredients and buy them plastic free, but a lot of times you're making things yourself. And sometimes these appliances can get really expensive too. For example, if you want to make your own vegan milk, you need a nice blender that's going to be like $500. And I like to cook my beans from dry, but it takes hours on the stove. I'm thankful that I can afford an Instant Pot where I can just press a button and it's done in the fraction of the time. And also, people who live a zero waste lifestyle promote using certain reusable products, like things in glass or bamboo cutlery that's really lightweight that you can take everywhere, or portable tins and reusable produce bags. Everything like that can definitely add up, and before you know it, you could be spending hundreds or even thousands of dollars on appliances in order to be quote unquote zero waste. But I know people are already typing angry comments below saying, but. Obviously, the zero waste movement aims to reuse things before you toss your old products out or buy new ones. And while it's not as glamorous as those famous Instagram photos or YouTubers or zero wasters in general, you can make zero waste for you work in some regards without spending a single cent, just by using the items that you have in your home. For example, instead of spending money on mason jars, you could just use leftover pasta jars or nut butter jars or any glass jar that you already bought that had food in it previously. Instead of buying a travel-friendly bamboo silverware kit, you can just make your own using utensils that you have around your house and wrapping them in an old t-shirt or a cloth bag to keep them somewhat clean. Obviously, these are a little bit heavier, but until you want to invest in a bamboo utensil set, which, to be honest, is not that expensive, you can just use that instead. And then in terms of zero waste cleaning, I actually think it does make more sense, because if you think about it in the long run, paper towels can get very expensive and they add up quickly if you're using a lot of them. So you could purchase a bunch of reusable towels and dishcloths, and this could add up, or you could just use the things you have left over in your house. And especially for cleaning, you can use old t-shirts or something like that you already have lying around that you don't care if it gets dirty and looks gross because you were going to throw it out anyways, and it is repurposing it. So this argument is a little bit more wishy-washy, and I will say it is feasible to do it yourself if you don't have a big budget. But again, I defer to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and I would say if you were to live a perfect zero waste life, we need to acknowledge that it would be really expensive. And last but not least, the third problem that I have with zero waste is that it can be really challenging in social settings. As you guys have noticed throughout the week, I didn't really go out to eat, and to be honest, I don't go out to eat very much just because I am a recipe developer and I have so much of my own food in my own house. And even growing up, eating out at fast food places and in restaurants wasn't really a major part of my lifestyle. However, if it is a big part of someone's lifestyle, I think that is where it starts to get really challenging. There is a lot more waste in the restaurant industry than we realize, especially with to-go food that's always wrapped in plastic. But even just when you go out to eat, you have plastic straws, you have paper napkins. It can all add up really quickly. And fun fact, even your to-go coffee cups are not actually recyclable because they are lined with plastic. A lot of people think you can recycle them, but they're garbage. And again, I think it's all about finding balance. Like, what if you are one of those people who doesn't have time to make your lunch every day and you eat out? What if you're out at a restaurant and you just really want a can of beer or a bottle of soda? I don't know. I think it's a personal decision, but I can see how things would add up. And actually, towards the end of this week, I did go out to eat in the real world, aka and not my house, at a few different places. I recorded on my iPhone, so I'm just going to insert those clips here. Okay, so first I went to a PR event with my roommates at this new cafe that was opening in Portland. I brought my own utensils, but actually they had glass bowls for like everything. There was basically no paper or plastic, and I just reused the same bowl the whole evening to further conserve my waste. There were big bowls, salads, and they even made us an ice cream bar, which is really awesome. But I will say this is not typically the case with PR events, but I mean, we are in Portland and people are pretty eco-friendly here. Then I went to dinner with my friends at a Thai restaurant. They didn't have plastic straws, which was awesome. And then I also got a kombucha, but that did come in glass. And we shared this appetizer thing. It was like lettuce cups, but it actually made my hands really, really dirty. And I wanted to wipe them before I ate my entree. But then I realized that napkins are paper and that was waste. So I went to the bathroom and washed my hands. And then afterwards, I took my leftovers home in a reusable container that I remembered to pack with me. And then on the last evening, I went out to get some drinks with some friends. I just got a beer, but I didn't use the paper coasters because those would be waste too. Obviously, at the end of the day, I do think you need to be realistic with yourself, and I haven't talked about it too much on here, but instead of a completely zero waste movement, there is a low waste movement, and finding, I guess, sort of the balance between plastic and waste production and living your life. I think that's a really big deal, and obviously this is going to play out in my life as well after this challenge ends, but I'm actually going to talk about that in the next and final video in this series, so I'm going to end this one here. If you have watched all the videos so far, I just wanted to say a quick thank you. Thank you guys for the support. I'm actually sort of filming these as they come out, so I hope this series has been well received. I have put a lot of time and effort into it, but in the next video, I'm going to be summarizing my week of zero waste, showing you all the waste that I produced and my thoughts, I guess, going from here. So I will see you guys then. Bye.